Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Thrive Co-Living Communities YouTube podcast. I'm Mark Stein, Thrive founder and your podcast host. We're creating sustainable, inclusive, and multi-generational residential communities from repurposed big box stores or other unused buildings. By offering unique and ecological co-living options, our aim is to combat the epidemic of isolation, revitalize communities, and help others discover the many benefits of engaged community living. In this podcast series, join us as we discuss co-living and other aspects of our concept, in addition to bringing you interesting people who are doing cool things from around the world. Through this podcast, learn more about our concept and see how Thrive co-living communities will bring together people from all walks of life. To find more about us, visit www.thrivecolivingcommunities.org. Thanks for watching and enjoy the podcast. So, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Thrive Co-Living Communities YouTube podcast. Glad to have you here, and I'm really pleased to have my guest with me, Sebastian Venancio G Castro. How's that? Pretty good?
Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful.
And he's from Brazil, and he has backgrounds in many of the topic areas that Thrive touches on: public policy, environmental impact, biology, and psychology. I won't give you all of his degrees, but he has a background in all of these areas, and we met recently, and he really expressed an interest in Thrive and the concept, and especially as it relates to some of the topic areas that he's been pursuing. And we'll first start, welcome, and talk a little bit about what your current work is, and then we'll just go from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Wonderful to be here. I feel honored to be here, to have been invited by you. Hi, everybody. Yeah, okay. I've been working for the last 20 years, more or less, as a consultant, dealing with governance and management of in Brazil, we call them third sector organizations, but they are the philanthropic organizations. That's what I've been doing. And because of my background in psychology and organizational psychology, I also work or am in charge of, in our company, I am in charge of the human resources consultancy or consulting job or work we make.
Wonderful. So tell me some of the thoughts that were stimulated by our first meeting and conversation, and just tell me what's on, it really excited me because you indicated that you had the kind of reaction that I did when the concept has first started emerging and leading to this and that. So just share what some of your thoughts were and how it dovetails with some of the things that you're interested in and have been working on.
Okay, so when you told me about Thrive co-living, and then I browsed your site, and we talked a little bit about the idea, the concept of the project. I was really thrilled because, as I said, I've been writing articles, for instance, on economy and life, or what I call economy and revitalization of our lives. Or it means the impact this classic economy has on our lives. And this kind of project of yours, I really like the idea, and we do have some developments, similar developments in Brazil. I have friends who have lived in a community such as this for many years. And this kind of idea, this kind of concept, I find it very interesting because it sort of goes against the mainstream economic concepts that are driving our lives. When you think of community, of diverse people, different people, different backgrounds, you think of something democratic. You think of something that would have or would need a very special kind of governance, like the so-called common pool resources. The kind of principles you find in this in the management of these resources, mainly natural resources, and also the idea of having people living together by choice may or might reinforce, let's say, the ties, the bonds between people. In a way, they could bring back affection, bring back attention with the other, bring back closer relationships. I always compare these communities with the kind of communities we have now in big cities. So you live in a neighborhood, but you don't know your neighbor. Actually, you merely have any kind of let's say relation or with people who live next door to you. Maybe you don't create, you don't nourish any kind of deeper relationship. So it's like you look to your belly and nothing else matters. I mean, this is generally speaking, of course, the model we have today in our society in Brazil and perhaps also in the US, at least in big cities. I come from a small town in Brazil. I was born in a farm, actually. When I was 8 years old, my family moved to a small town in Brazil. And it's very interesting. And I always look at that past and compare it with now, with nowadays. At that time, about 50 years ago, you would know everyone. You would talk with your neighbors. You would let's say exchange. You would make a cake and would give a piece of it to your neighbor, and then he or she made something similar. He or she would bring a piece to you, and this kind of relationship I used to find so interesting, so enriching, so grateful, and also very interesting, not mediated by money, not mediated by money. And this is or was a huge difference compared to today. And then, okay, coming back to the present, when you think of such a community, of a co-living community, I find it very interesting because it's an opportunity to sort of rescue some of these, old habits or rescue relationships, rescue people in their full meaning. And then your project really made me think all these things, all and the importance of sort of bring back this kind of relationship to the present day.
And I see the multi-generational aspect of it in a very similar way, because, you know, it used to be, actually, it was right before my generation where families, several generations would live under the same roof. And all those benefits of the wisdom of the elders and the youthful energy of the young kids, and having a built-in babysitter if the parents needed to go out. So I see it resurrecting that aspect of most cultures as well. You know, when there is a massive construction boom of apartments here in the States. I happen to be in Florida, and most of them are huge buildings, multiple buildings, 4 to 5 stories typically. And I look at those and I think how lonely that life is. And because there may be a community room, there may be a fitness center, there may be a pool, but my understanding from people that I talk to that live in those is that they're, especially during COVID, they're rarely used. So it's very difficult to meet people, and each person is going in their separate cubicle, if you will, watching their own big screen TV. So it's a very lonely life. But related to the economy, I think that it's also very purposeful that that's what's created for our living conditions, because if everybody is isolated and everybody is going into their own pod, and if everybody is in their maintaining their own yard, for those that have single family houses, what that does is it leads people to consume more. So that's the underlying insidious, I think. I don't know that anybody in particular plans it, but that's the impact of it, which of course the government likes, business likes. Let's keep people unhappy, unsatisfied, disconnected, so then they'll buy more stuff. What do you think?
Exactly. Yeah, I think you bring two very interesting ideas. The first one is the intergenerational idea of the co-living would have, and this is a very important aspect in current life, in modern life, and behind this, actually, behind the idea of separating children and parents and grandparents, behind this there is an economic idea also, which is linked to the second thought you brought. There is the consumerism. I mean, if you are alone, if you are lonely, you tend to consume more. You tend to buy more things so as to fulfill your needs, your desires. Actually, I've been writing also on a topic which is not very discussed yet, but it is what I call economy of pleasure, which means we buy things, not everybody, of course, but many people buy things wishing that that object would bring him or her some pleasure. But it happens with all of us. The problem is the intensity. If you buy things every day hoping to be fulfilling your desires, then it might be a pathology. But all of us, of course, when we go to a movie theater, when you buy an ice cream, we are buying something to give us some pleasure. No problem with that. No problem. But the question is, there is a big economy related or dependent on pleasure, and very interestingly, also dependent on the, if I can say so, this pleasure or non-pleasure, or for instance, if you are sad, if you, and because of that you are depressed, or if you have a headache because you are depressed, then there is a huge industry to give you not only medicines, but different kinds of therapies, different kinds of approach to sort of to make you feel pleasure again, or abandon or leaving this pleasure and coming back to pleasure. So and this economy of pleasure is very interesting, because it addresses what can be called satisfaction. I'm buying something to satisfy myself, to, and this is very important, because we tend to think, we tend to believe that things will make me happy, will bring me pleasure, i.e. will make me happy. Of course, it doesn't happen most of the times, but it is a belief we have nowadays that if I buy a nice trouser, a nice cap or whatever, I'll have pleasure, I'll be happy. And so economy is truly based on this economy of pleasure. And coming back to the co-living, this idea, the good thing about it is that it, by rescue, relations, by bringing back relations, it sort of alleviate this pleasure or non-pleasure. It's very simple. When you are with friends or your family or whatever, but when you are with people that make you happy, that bring you joy, you don't think of buying things. You don't really need to buy something, because you feel plenty, you feel whole, you're not empty, you're not void, and
connected.
Then
you feel connected.
yeah, sure, yeah, this connectedness makes you feel well, makes you feel whole, and then you don't need to buy things to put in the void. The big problem is that we buy things to fill the void we have, and most of the times we're not very aware of this. Of course, most of the times this doesn't come to our consciousness, and then unconsciously we buy things, and when families are separated, and then it comes to what you said, the idea, the tendency is that you buy more things because you are void of family, you are void of friends, you are void of deep relationships, you are void of a shoulder that can caress you and that can understand you, that can be empathic to you, and then you have to put something on the void, and then you consume. Could be drugs, alcohol, could be objects like clothes and whatever, cars, whatever. So economy is mainly based on this kind of thing, this kind of existential void if you could call it like that. And
Mhm.
the idea of co-living community goes against, as I said in the beginning, and that's why I like the idea. If we could imagine, if we could have lots of these communities around, then I really think this would be quite revolutionary in the sense that it would lead people to rethink economy as it is today.
And I'm really surprised, but then again, not. And I'll talk why. I'm involved in an international association of people that are advocating for co-living, and it's called. I'll mention it here. It's called colive.org, and it's co-live.org, and this is this is an idea that's really catching on all over the world. And a lot of it is to solve the problem of the unavailability of housing and the extreme price increase, cost of housing. But a lot of it is around this sense of the need to build community. The reason I'm not surprised is I've heard in general, if there's any idea that is percolating, then it's not just isolated to one place. There's interest in that topic everywhere. And I think it's because certain conditions promote certain ideas. So this condition of isolation and loneliness precedes COVID. Don't even talk about
That's right.
COVID. And all
That's
of
right.
these movements started before COVID.
Yeah.
But whenever there's an idea whose time is right, there are lots of people thinking about it. And there are lots of different iterations, some in particular segments like seniors only. And
Yeah.
some of them draw creatives, artists of different types.
Yeah.
And there are lots of different species of this. I wanted to mention something too. We're currently living in a condo complex amongst a lot of other condo complexes down in the Tampa Bay area, Clearwater area of Florida. And we just moved in July, and we're renting, we don't own it. And people were initially friendly, but I've even noticed in this, so this is a complex where people bought or are renting, but they're not coming here for the purpose of being together in a community. They're coming to live individually. There's a person probably a little older than I am, although I never can tell these days. I can't tell very well who's older and who's not, but he had surgery on his arm, and he was in a sling, not a cast, but a sling. And I took several meals up to him. He's right up above us. And he was, and this is just my impression, of course, but he seemed uncomfortable, like we were violating a certain code of independence. And he took it, and he thanked me, but he was eager to close the door.
Okay.
It was like, and I think what's underneath that is fear.
Yeah.
Fear of losing privacy, fear of anonymity, but he definitely appreciated it. And I'm thinking the guy's got a sling on. He can't be able to cook very much. He had shoulder surgery. So I think there's this yearning for it, but unless people come together with this understanding that this is what unites us, is that we want to engage with each other. We want to be around people. We want to get to know people. There's this suspicion about your neighbor that they may call attention to one of your bad habits or something. So we want our privacy. So I think that's important. And I think it's very important, and it's part of our concept, that we build in privacy so that you can have as much as you want. And we build in opportunities to get together. We'll plan dinners, events like speakers coming in like you. So, and just get-togethers and all sorts of fitness activities and that sort of thing. So, but people will be able to choose as much privacy or as much community as they want. And I think that's really important, that people not feel compelled to participate more than they want.
I have a very interesting experience related to this. I lived in Denver in 2013 for 6 months during my PhD. And we lived in a eco building, these new buildings, okay? And it was a nice building, modern and very nice building. But what sort of called our attention most, and what we really enjoyed about the building, is that there was a management of the community, and there were lots of opportunities of meeting. For instance, they held parties for the dogs. There were about 50 dogs in the building, and we have a dog here in Brazil. We like dogs very much, and then we got to know lots of people because of their dogs. Because as we would talk to them. Oh, what a nice dog! Is it he or she? And such and such. And then sometimes once each 2 months, maybe, there would be a party for the dogs. They would have breakfasts right in the morning, shared breakfasts, shared brunches, in the evenings, snacks or on the rooftop, and this was something planned. They had a calendar, a schedule of these happenings, and this was very interesting because it was a very intelligent way of approaching people, of putting people together. And of course, it was up to you to go or not, but to attend or not. But if you did, you would meet interesting people, very interesting people also with similar interests. Like one of the interests was, of course, meeting other people. And that building, that experience was very rich for us, was wonderful, actually, living in such a modern building in Denver, which is, middle-sized city, but with such a nice atmosphere they could create. And then as far as the co-living is concerned, I think one of the important things is the management and the governance of it all. I mean, thinking about different opportunities of, inviting people together, sharing ideas, like you said, sharing ideas, sharing lunch or meals, or I mean, opportunities in general to meet other people. This is very interesting. Here in Brazil now, for the last 1.5 years, more or less, I'm living in a condo outside of town. I used to have a house here for 12, 13 years or something like that. But we would come only on weekends. So we didn't quite know the community. And this 1 year and a half, because of the COVID, we moved into the condo. We bought another house, a larger one, okay, but the community is the same one. And then we got to know the functioning, the operation of this condo. And it was also very interesting and very rewarding, because we noticed that here there is also this kind of relationship, this kind of desire to meet other people, to share things, a bit in the way of what we're talking about. I mean, it was not thought as a co-living experience, but I think little by little, it has become a kind of co-living. It's not perfect. Lots of things have to be improved, but the idea of living together and sharing ideas and sharing moments, getting to know a bit more each other, it's very interesting. Very different from the city where I live. I live in a building, in a street, a very calm street, short street, and we don't know, we live there for 20 years, and we don't know our neighbors. Okay, we know them just by, I know that that guy lives there and that woman lives on the street, but we don't talk. We almost don't talk to each other. We sometimes we just greet each other. Hello, how are you? But nothing more than that. It's very interesting how big cities have, in a way, killed this community sense of belonging, or whatever, this community sense of being together, of gathering. As you said, everyone wants his or her privacy. No one wants to be sort of invaded. And then each one remains in his or her cubicle, as you said. It's very sad, actually. I find this very sad. We human beings, we are social beings. Of course, each one.
How much do you think the experience in your condo is connected to COVID? Because, and there's no way for you to know, because you came there at about the time COVID started. Yeah. But I wonder, and maybe you could find out from some of your neighbors, how collegial it was in the condo before COVID. Because and my theory is, well, let me back up. So most of our planning and development of this concept has been during COVID. So I've been aware of the irony of promoting a co-living community in the middle of a pandemic. But my prediction is, and my sense from talking to people, just anecdotally, is that there are a lot of people who were not that interested in community and weren't really feeling isolated, but with COVID, they've really experienced that sense of separation. So my hunch is that even though people have been very careful in your condo and limiting their interaction, still that people want to reach out even more as a result of it, and feeling that sense of isolation and loneliness.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. And of course, I don't really have how to so let's say prove it or test it. But what I see is, because as I said, we have had a house here for 14 years. And yeah, there was some sort of sense of community, because we talked to other neighbors who lived here, And there is a club. We would meet on the club and this sort of thing, on the snack bar also. But COVID sort of, I think COVID did two things. Put more people together, like, you know, as if jailed in their houses, one thing, of course, with the social distancing and this sort of thing, but put people back in the house, because we wouldn't stay in the house, you know, of course, everybody worked and such and such. We would not be very much in the house. COVID did that. And something else which is very interesting, and there are some research worldwide showing this, that COVID sort of showed and demonstrated to us how fragile we are, how life is fragile, how danger is knocking at your door, and also, and that sort of, I think, brought also an idea of everyone in the same boat.
Yep.
And I think in this sense, people may have changed a little bit, maybe giving more attention to the others, to members of family, to friends, giving more attention to himself or herself, in the sense of, you know, paying more attention to their bodies, to their minds, because also it affected a lot the mental health of many people. So it kind of forced us to be a bit more, or to get a bit more aware of our lives, of who we are, how we live, what is like a hierarchy of importance. What is more important? Is breathing the air or having a car, expensive car, for instance? I think COVID brought the opportunity for all of us rethink some of these things we were sort of used not to think.
Yep.
Things we had kind of forgot, and then it brought us back to this. And in this sense, I think also it made, like here, the community more present, more careful with the others, more attentive to the other person, you know, next to you. And yes, I think in this sense, I would say that there was a growth in this kind of consciousness of living, of what is important, more important in life, of revaluing things, you know, giving the proper value to what is really valuable, let's say, and
Yep.
not and not losing his or her sense on things that are not important. In a sense, it went against economy again, coming back to economy, because it forced us to look at ourselves. Whereas, as I said, this typical economy, the economy of pleasure, tries to sell us things to fill our voids, and without being able to buy many things, without being able to go out and talking to different people. We were sort of forced to be more in touch with ourselves.
I agree. Let's switch gears for a moment and talk about something else that I know from our previous conversation is a passion of yours, and that is permaculture and this getting back to the land and to natural principles. Talk about what impact that has on your life and has had on your life. And, it is one of the fundamental principles behind our concept is to live in harmony, not only with each other, but with the land and the setting.
Yeah.
Talk about your thoughts on that involving culture.
Okay. First, I was born in a farm, and my childhood was with plants and with cows. And I loved both. Um, and then I became a biologist also. And for some years, I taught um, like something I could call environmental experiences, like taking groups of people, youth people or adults, to the nature and teaching them how to look at small things, teaching them to pay attention to the natural cycles, the amount of small creatures living in a square, for instance, 10 per 10 centimeters, for instance, with magnifying glass and this sort of thing, being shut up in silence and trying to listen and to breathe and to feel the different odors. And these experiences with people from the cities were very interesting, very enriching for all of us, because and then it comes to my main idea. We have been living so much disconnected from the earth, from the land, from the soil, from everything that surrounds us, that this has made us very sick also, this disconnectedness. And I think when you think then of permaculture and dealing with the land and learning about the land, the soil, the creatures, that the cycles, nutrient cycles, for instance, learning about this, and not only learning in the cognitive sphere, but I would say more importantly, learning from your heart or with your heart, bringing this into your heart and not only to your mind. Because it doesn't matter the names, the technical names of of organisms and plants. It doesn't matter. What matters is your sense of observation. What matters is your ability to see, what is presented to you. This would bring connectedness. This would make you more connected to this natural world, and this and then I can tell as a therapist, this has a tremendous potential to bring you balance, to make you more balanced, to make you more self-centered, to make you more calm, to make you
feel whole,
yeah,
makes you feel whole.
that's right, that's right. Nature has this incredible power, but then you need to have time, some time at least, and then and also you need to learn to direct your attention to all these things, because they are there, but we just don't see them. We don't realize they are there. And then I remember taking students, for instance, to an area with grass, only grass. And when you look, it's just green grass, beautiful, okay? But you really don't realize. And then we would do this experience of taking 1 meter, 1 meter wide squares with magnifying glasses, and 2 students per each square, uh, looking on the or at the grass, to trying sort of to unfold the organisms that live there, and that of course only the ones that could be seen with the simple magnifying glass, because there are millions of others you can see with your naked eye or even with your magnifying glass. And for the students, usually this was a tremendous experience, because they would never realize there would be so many organisms, so many insects and arthropods and everything living in such a square of grass. What I mean is, there are some different layers of realities. There is the first layer, which is just the grass you see, but then when you go deeper, you see more and more worlds, more and more things living there. And this brings connectedness. This impacts you in a sense. And if you are, let's say, ready, because also there is this, you have to bring with you a certain kind of redness for it. If you are running, rushing, if you are, chasing your success, your money, you don't have time to do this. I would say that it would be more difficult for you to stop, or maybe that could make you stop. But if you are already ready, maybe not 100% ready, but if you are open, then you can make this kind of experience and feel this connectedness.
So, as we start to wrap up, are there any other thoughts that you had in anticipation of this podcast that we didn't get to talk about and that you didn't share? Anything else on your mind about it?
No, not quite. I mean, just that I'm very, connected to feelings, to sentiments, to affection. I think this is these things are core, to our lives, and we sort of we have been losing these sentiments, feelings, and such, and co-living always brings that to me again. I mean, always make me think that this kind of relationships could be brought up to life if the idea of co-living. And I was very interested when you said in the beginning that there is a world movement. I know, of course, of some experiences in Europe, in some European countries, and such, in Brazil, in Australia, but I didn't know that there was something bigger, like a worldwide movement. I got very interested in that. But just to finish, I really hope that this movement grows, so that this kind of life quality could be, brought together again, could be shared, could be really lived by different people, provided people have the opportunity, people have the idea and some management, I think that could be sort of rescued again, because we need that as people. Generally speaking, we need that. We need other people. We need to to share our ideas, to share our feelings. We need empathy. We need care. We need love, respect, and if we can find that in a larger group other than our family, uh, that would be wonderful. I think this is quite revolutionary, actually, um, as far as the world today is concerned. The way the world is conceived today, I think these ideas are very revolutionary in this sense.
I think so. And I think the timing is right. And it's, some people have said to me, this is so ambitious of a project, but really all it takes is a framework that makes it affordable. And with the introduction of boxable for the residential component, we haven't talked about it, but we'll put it in the show notes. boxabl.com is a modular housing unit that's very inexpensive, sort of tiny homes.
Oh, wonderful.
But to make it affordable, and then the only other thing you need are people that are looking for the same thing. And I I know I know a lot of people that would be open to it depending on their life circumstances. So it's really not that hard or not that far-fetched, as long as we can get the word out that this exists and give a framework that's doable and appealing physically.
Okay.
I also want to just thank you for the connection that you made. You first drew a picture of people connecting with each other. And then when we started talking about permaculture, that broadens the connection, not only between people and other people, but between people and the environment and life, the essence of life. And you also spurred another thought, and it maybe this relates to why so many people are interested in this right now and why this idea is percolating so much, is that I don't think we've ever been so aware of the existential threat that we have to humanity, for humanity. And now more people are aware that with global warming, not only would we see epidemics, but violent storms, and we see the very real possibility of extinction of the species.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of a wake-up call to a certain percentage of the population. There are many people that are denying it. It's like the frog in the pot of water that's gradually heating up, and they're not aware of it. But I think a critical mass of people, including young people in this era, are very aware that we could be the last generation on Earth. So that might be one of the conditions that's leading more people to be thinking about this. And this is the first time this has occurred to me, but you painting a picture of people connected and people connected with the environment gave me that holistic sense. So
Okay.
what do you think? Do you think it could be this prospect of global warming and catastrophe that may be leading us to think about this?
Yes. As you said, of course, not everybody is aware of this, but many people are, many adults people are, and you know, young people. And then I was just reading last week about Greta Thunberg, the Swedish girl, and the students in Glasgow, Scotland, hundreds of students marching against, COP26 and climate warming and this sort of thing. And I that gave me some hope, because around the world during that week, hundreds or maybe millions of students, young people, sort of had their eyes on the summit. Many of them marched, protesting against what's going on, and and this gave me hope, because no doubt global warming and all the effects related to it also is already making and will make more and more pressure on civilization in the coming years. And as you said, yeah, we, or maybe the next few generations after us, could be let's say, the last ones on the planet. You know that we are on the verge of so-called point of no return, and all of us should be aware. Of course, it would be interesting to know the statistics about it. I mean, what the percentage of people in the world that are aware of the threat you mentioned. Maybe not a high percentage, but the ones who are, and the young people have to be together and trying to reconnect to nature, reconnect to the ideas of wholeness, rethinking life, rethink economy. Pope Francis is trying, is sort of provoking these ideas with as far as economy is concerned. And last year I attended lots of seminars on the economy of Francesco, and there were lots of very interesting ideas about a new economy, new possibilities, and that's the idea. I mean, we have to rethink the way things are conceived and lived. And very nice that you and many people are working on this movement, are trying to make something more, let's say, real, bringing the ideas to reality, trying to, as you said, having something physical. This is very important, I think.
Well, I really want to thank you for a very rich conversation. And this podcast and this conversation is part of that movement. You and I connecting on these topics, and sharing our thoughts is part of that coming together and that connectedness. So I want to thank you, and you have such I hope we can have more conversations. You have such a varied, holistic background of study with biology and psychology and all
Yeah.
these things. So you're bringing a lot of these things together in one person, and most people bring a piece of that. So
Yeah.
I hope we can continue to talk about some of these things, and there's lots more to talk about. But I really want to thank you for this and for your contribution, because you're out talking about it and teaching it and writing on it every day. So you're part of that too.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much for the invitation. It was really a pleasure to be here. And yes, I would love to discuss other themes, other subjects that I think that are important to our lives. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It was, an honor for me to be here, and I hope to see you in another opportunity.
Same. All right. And everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. If you have other subjects that you'd like to see us approach or other guests that you'd like to see on the podcast, please communicate with me and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for another great episode of the Thrive Co-Living Communities YouTube podcast. To learn more about our mission and how you can support our vision of creating co-living communities worldwide, please visit us at thrivecolivingcommunities.org. To receive advanced viewings of our podcast and other exclusive content, find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Thrive Co-Living Communities. You can also learn more ways to support our mission in the show notes below. Amazon Smile, GoFundMe, Kroger, and our own Thrive Gear store, where you can buy t-shirts, hats, and many other items. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.